What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Chaotic Minds. As always, it is me, Winged.
And the midget.
And real quick, I do want to get this out there just before we get into any of our topics.
Yay.
Thing number one, we are going to be taking next week, May 27th, the week of May 27th, like the week leading up to May 27th, off. Two reasons on that. One,
It's my birthday.
It is your birthday. And number two, this will be a full week of your new job, and I
Yep.
don't want to burn you out because you're going to be tired. And
My
I already know
Bryans are
this.
going to be fried. I get to carry a taser.
Yep. The second thing, you will notice somewhere that there is a link to become to give support to the show financially. Feel free to click that if you want. If you choose not to, that's fine too.
We're just going to spend it on better gear.
Where we just appreciate you stopping by and listening.
It's crazy, but it's fun.
Yeah, without further ado,
Adieu.
let's go ahead and get into the show.
Yes.
First thing I want to talk about today, and is actually something I heard about from our favorite news person.
Philly D.
He reported on it last week. Thank you, Philly D. You are fantastic. Either last week or this week, I don't remember. Days are sliding by. Anyways, Montana
What
as
the
a state
fuck is up?
has banned TikTok.
That's hysterical.
I mean, it really is, and
Trying to do that is
there are
hysterical.
already fights that are happening for it. I mean, we've been having fights that went to before freaking Congress at that, and they.
I mean, think of
some of the Republican questions had nothing
nothing to do with TikTok.
and the CEO is just like, how do you want me to answer this? There is no
exactly.
But no, I mean, there's already some fights, and a lot of people are like, this is going against our First Amendment right.
Do you blame them? I mean, half of these people are all the creators, and I say creators because that's exactly what you're doing is creating videos.
And creating content
Exactly.
like
these
the,
content creators are losing their revenue.
Yeah, I mean, like Bell's Hells, which is a series that I absolutely love. Then we have Cafe Latte, another series that I absolutely love that I think I introduced you on.
Yeah.
Like there are tons of these creators that are making stories and like
have built businesses.
Fluffy Ferrets. We just ordered some stuff from them. They market a lot of their stuff and get a lot of attention from TikTok.
Are they from Montana?
No, they're from Virginia.
Good. I was about to cry.
But no, like there's a lot of people. I mean, Godric the Wordsmith, one of those. NPC. I can't remember the rest of it, but it's like an NPC like battle royal between different.
Isn't one
characters.
of our drinking creator people that does the mixed drinks? The one that starts with "What's up, you beautiful buttholes"?
I don't believe he is from Montana. I think he's Midwest.
Yeah.
But because he mentioned going to a zoo in a city, and I can't remember exactly what city it was. Anyways.
Yeah.
But no, there's a lot of people out there that are upset, and
they're going to be losing their livelihood.
Well, and here's the thing. A lot of what people are protesting in Montana is the fact that this is a breach of First Amendment. And add into the fact that they're already fighting it. Like I believe it's supposed to kick into effect the beginning of next year, but you can almost guarantee that they are going to be fighting that until then. If it doesn't get overturned.
It's going to get overturned. The likelihood of it actually sticking is like slim to none.
And even if it doesn't get overturned by then and it gets overturned later or whatnot, people who already have the app they don't get grandfathered in, to the ban. They can still access it and everything. You just can't download it.
And you can't update it.
No, you can update it.
No.
If they are not including grandfathered in people. So like if your app,
AKA hurry up and download TikTok, people.
like if it's already in there, like if it's already on your phone and already registered to an IP address and a what's it called, a email address or a phone number,
all that.
All that, you're not going to get hit with that ban.
And the funny thing is one of the things that I think is going to be hysterical with it is one of the things that how they could get around it. And this is just a hypothetical, just an idea that floated in my head. Hintity, hint, hint, hint. Maybe cell phone companies should just automatically have it on their phones.
Well, like every
like
Android,
Facebook,
like every Android having Google on there,
and
Chrome,
Facebook and Messenger, and that type
my
of
phone.
stuff.
I will say
mine automatically had Facebook and Messenger.
Mine had Facebook, but not Messenger. I had to download Messenger.
But you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying.
Making it part of the phone, like.
But that would have to be a deal that TikTok would have to make with.
If
Android,
they were smart, they would do it.
Companies. Yeah.
I'm
no.
serious. No, and here's the reason. Because if they make this deal and it's coming preloaded on the phones, you can get rid of it if you don't want anything to do with TikTok. Just like you can get rid of Facebook. I know family members that don't have a Facebook for that reason. They just don't do social media.
Right.
So, I mean, you could get rid of it if you don't want it. But if it automatically comes on the phone, ain't nobody going to be able to say shit.
Right. And I get that. But, like, at the same time, there's a chance that it's going to cause, that in itself can cause issues.
It's going to cause an uproar if that ban sticks.
Well, and in some states, they've actually, like, if you cannot have it downloaded on a government phone. Like, if you have a government job, you can't download it onto a government phone, which I can understand that.
Funny thing is probation officers, I know a couple of them out here where we're at, in a couple of different cities, where the department has made it mandatory that they have TikTok on their work phones.
Mm-hmm.
They can't make videos, but it's a way to look at what their clients, the people that are on probation.
Yeah, if they list that they have a TikTok, because trying to find an individual
stupid people, stupid criminals, dumb criminals.
Mistakes. Yes, I know, but trying to find a specific person if you don't know anything is difficult.
Funny thing is you can register under any first and last name.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, but they want the probation officers and other people to be able to look at their clients'
I wouldn't
stuff.
say clients. I would say, like, their charges.
So you know what I mean. The people that are on they're looking at the people that are on probation. They're looking at their social media. The cops use social media as a huge tool in tracking down certain people
nowadays.
I know, and it's become such a huge thing. And even police departments themselves have.
There are like several
TikTok
police officers that you follow on TikTok.
Yep, one of them being a cousin of our kids. And it's just like, there are police departments that have a police department TikTok.
Yeah.
Police department Facebook. Like, I'm on the Littleton Police Facebook page because of the fact that they post, like, when something major is going on. Like this morning with the high school. And how the hell are you going to be 34 years old and break into a school? The fuck?
I mean, that's not the weirdest thing I've heard.
They arrested this chick this morning at like 6:30 in the morning because she broke into the high school. What goes at another
That's
rabbit hole?
not the weirdest thing I've heard.
That's the rabbit hole.
So, Powerline from a Goofy movie.
Yes.
So the person who voiced his singing was a very famous at the time artist.
Mm-hmm.
He was in his 20s, and he enrolled himself into high school and made himself gave him like a younger age because he still looked pretty young, still had
Yeah.
a baby face, but was going to high school as an adult in his 20s. And
That's
when
like the
he
movie
got,
Never Been Kissed.
when he got arrested, the reason that he gave the officers was because he never got to experience high school because he was acting, he was doing music and all of that kind of stuff. So that's not the weirdest thing I've heard about somebody. I mean, there's been cases.
There's reporters
There's
like in
been-
Never
well,
Been Kissed. That
There's
movie.
been cases across everything where
21
people
Jump Street.
where people they're like, you know, hey, I'm going to bounce around the foster care system, and
As soon as I'm getting close to my 18th birthday, I'm going to run away.
run away, get picked up by another family, say that I'm only 16, give a different
Exactly.
name, and that kind. I mean, so it's not the weirdest thing I've heard.
I mean, look at the creepy ass movie Orphan. That chick was in her 40s.
I don't watch horror movies.
Like late 30s, early 40s.
You know I don't watch horror movies.
I
Why
know,
bring
but
up
it's
a
the
horror
same.
movie?
It's the same thing.
Why bring up a horror movie?
It's the same thing. It's
Like, and that's not even like a Pookie, like a vampires.
no, that's a
and yada, yada.
psychological fucking
That's
creepy.
that's a horror movie. That is I will fuck you in your brain psychological. No, fuck you. I don't watch horror movies.
But no, I mean it's the same concept. You're an older person, like in your 20s, 30s, 40s, what have you,
Mhm.
and you're going undercover in these high schools,
Mhm.
and it's just like
Well, the thing that I'm gonna find
I just don't understand why she broke into the school.
the thing I'm going to find funny when this eventually happens is when these people, these older people who are in this legislative branch, goes ahead and they either some young kid, some younger person is going to be like, you know what, I've fucking had enough of this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be a part of this. And they're going to run, and there's a high, because they're able to connect with a younger demographic than these old fucks who are like, well, I've been doing this job since you were 2 years old. Maybe that's why you shouldn't have this job anymore, Fred.
Politicians and diapers are the same thing. They should be changed often and for the same reason.
Yeah.
They
But,
become
like,
shitty.
It's gonna be funny when that happens, and all these younger people, they're like, no, fuck this, we're overturning this. And eventually that's going to happen across every legislative branch, whether it's at a city level, a state level, and then finally a governmental level. Thank you.
Congressional level.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
And when that does happen, all this stuff that these old fuckers decided that they were going to try to do and to keep power, because people with power don't want to give up power.
No, they just crave more.
They're going to go ahead and be like, well, shit. And they're going to fight, and they're going to protest, and they're going to do the exact same fucking shit that all these other people are doing now.
Rinse, lather, repeat.
But they're going to be doing it because, well, that's not right. That shouldn't happen. Yada yada this, yada yada that. And it's like, well, this is the fucking bed that you made yourself because you decided to go ahead and be a fucking dumb cunt. And I don't use that word very often.
Yeah.
But you decided to go ahead and pave the way for us to go ahead and do the exact same fucking thing that you did, but to undo everything.
The definition of insanity.
Undo fucking everything. And that's what I think it needs to happen.
Doing the same thing over and over and over again, the exact same way,
Well, no,
expecting a different
It's
result.
not even that. It's not even that. What we need is a complete overhaul of this bullshit. We need to get out all the old people who are sitting there and they're like, well, we're going to make decisions.
People
for
that are
our
getting in the way of
grandchildren.
progress for the sake of their pockets being lined
Yeah,
is what it is.
We're going to make decisions that are going to kick in and affect the younger generations because we want more power. What the fuck you going to do with it? You're like 70, 80 years old. You're going to die in like 10 years because of fucking stress. The fuck, man? Move over. Let somebody younger go ahead and take control and make this world better. Is that going to happen?
Nope.
Eventually.
It's not going to happen as long as we have old white men in power.
It's not even old white men. Look at Clarence Thomas. Look at Clarence
Idiot.
Thomas.
Old white men, idiots, and people that
Old
have
people,
no business
No.
running.
Old people and people with power. Right there. Old people and people with power.
Why don't they have the poor folk run for office? Like, seriously. The
I
broker
can tell you
you
why. I can tell you exactly why.
get the
Because
rich
all of the
people
rich
out of there.
people would lose their shit.
Well, there's a very special place for them in hell because all they're doing is creating more problems,
Hmm?
and
The rich
the
get
ones that
richer.
are and the ones that are going to have to deal with those problems is our
kids.
children and their children.
Mhm.
And the problem lies when you've got people that are standing in the way of progress, like DeSantis. He's a fucking idiot.
Well, and that that brings it back to like people are trying to expose what the fuck is actually going on, and there are some people who are out there who are like, we're trying to show what the fuck is going on via TikTok. And now there's talk about, well, we're going to ban TikTok because China. Okay, let's get something straight here. Is the parent company in China? Yeah, it is. However, there are different, like,
They have
the way-
representatives in the
No,
United
well, it's
States.
not even.
and
It's
all
not even
over.
that. That's not what I'm getting at. It's kind of like departments, like a department store. There are different departments in each country or in each region. Do they all answer to the parent company? Yes, but they all
For the
have,
most part.
They all have their own individual.
They have a little bit of
servers.
autonomy.
They have their individual servers
Yeah.
that are secured. And like all of our information isn't getting sent over to China and to the People's Republic or whatever the fuck it's called,
The
led by
People's
fucking
Republic
Pooh
of
Bear. But it stays here in the United States. Them going ahead and being like, well, if you want this app to continue to be in the United States, it needs to be a U.S. owned fucking product. Okay, go ahead and tell that to Jaguar.
Go ahead
and
and
tell
tell
that
that to all the cell phone companies.
Go ahead and tell that to BMW. Go ahead and tell it to Samsung.
They want to
And-
take they want to take TikTok because it's a Chinese company. They need to be looking at a lot more of the consumed goods in the U.S.
I mean, you can't go into a fucking store without seeing made in China fucking everywhere.
I looked at a computer. I was at Walmart the other day with our daughter, and I was looking at a laptop that I really liked. It was a nice laptop,
Mhm.
and it said right on the box, "Made in China, parts assembled in Taiwan." Like,
Yep.
You can't turn a corner in any store in the United States.
Yeah, and who knows? China could be going ahead and slipping stuff into our computers.
Ooh.
Or to our there could be hacking into our cell phones because it's fucking bullshit.
It's like those people that are paranoid about facial recognition software because the government will have your face. You heard driver's licenses, right? You heard of birth certificates, right?
Or well, I don't want to get my
Ancestry
DNA. Yeah,
DNA.
I don't want to have nothing to do with my
Right.
DNA because they could track me and trace. You do realize that every time you go into the hospital and they take blood
Exactly.
to do tests, they already have it.
They already have
When
your
you were born,
dumbass's DNA.
when you were born, guess what they got? Blood.
Heel sticks.
If you give
cord
birth,
blood.
if you give birth, guess what they have? Blood.
You have
If you
surgery.
donate-
If you have surgery, you get typed in cross-match so they can give you the right kind of blood. They
have
already have your DNA.
if you donate
Stop being stupid.
if you donate any sort of fluid, they're gonna have your DNA. So there's no way that you can go your entire life without the government having any sort of information on you, unless you are born at home, you never go to a hospital, you never go to a public school or any sort of school.
And good luck growing up because you probably are anti-vax and might die of some mysterious disease that you could have prevented.
Yeah. Like the only way that
But
you can do
they're
that
going to be the
is
first
if
people that bitch that they can't get blood because nobody has donated. You know, they're going to complain that government has my DNA on file, yada yada yada. I don't want to do this because of this. I'm losing a lot of blood because I was shot at work. I need blood. Well, nobody's donating blood anymore because, well, nobody wants their DNA on file.
Yep.
And they're going to be the first people to bitch. And it's going to be hysterical because it goes back to that whole banning. It's a vicious cycle. It goes back to the banning of TikTok. The people that are crying about banning TikTok in Montana are going to be the first people to bitch when somebody says something to them about their First Amendment rights.
Yep.
It circles right the fuck back around.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is it's that old saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yep.
And if you're going to bitch, piss, moan, complain, whatever you may call it, about something, you don't get to get pissed off when you can't get that either.
Yep.
It makes no sense.
Like if I went into a store back when mask mandates were a thing, right? And I bring this up because I've been watching a lot of like Karens getting owned and whatnot.
Yeah.
But if I was to go into a store without a mask on, and I was told I can't buy anything, even though it says on the front door of the store that
usually
you
big ass signs
have
before
to
you even
wear
hit the
it,
door,
then I'm not going to get upset. I'm going to be a little irritated because now I have to go back out and get one or buy one that they give me. But I'm not going to be upset.
There are times where I will still wear a mask. Like when I walked into, there's a pet store. It's a locally owned pet store. And the people that run it and own it are elderly. And I will still wear a mask in there, even though there is no mask mandate. And like when I had my mammogram, the lady had just gotten over COVID in March. She's an older person. She asked me if I wouldn't mind putting a mask on, even though there is no mask mandate at my doctor's office.
Well, you're also like 6 inches away from her face whenever she's, squishing.
That's my point. It's like oh yeah, sure, I can do that. But and then she tells me that she's been yelled at and screamed at and cursed at several times during the day because people and their adamant refusal to put on a mask. And it's just like, all she was asking is for 10 minutes for you to keep her safe as well as your selfish. People are fucking selfish. That's exactly what it is.
Wizard's first rule: people are stupid. And that is a direct line from one of my favorite authors, Terry Goodkind.
Yeah.
Anyways. So we spent like 23 minutes on this, or we spent some time on this.
We went down a rabbit hole yet again.
So
that's okay though.
You had a topic that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's the least wonderful time of the year, aka no, I'm not talking about Mondays. I'm talking about finals week.
Not talking about tax seasons.
Finals week.
Finals.
Whether it's high school or college, we've got 2 that are in high school, and finals week for us is a mess because they're stressed, they're like irritated,
the biggest
they don't sleep well.
The biggest thing for me that I don't get, mainly because the way that my school worked, when I was going back in 2006, was we had block scheduling, kind of like what our kids do, but I didn't have any off periods. Like, our block scheduling was like, we had 4 classes a day and an 8-hour time frame.
Yeah.
And like, maybe like an hour-ish of our day was spent on like our flex period, so like study hall or like electives if you chose to do that, and lunch. Like an hour and 15 hour and a half for those. And then the rest of our day, we didn't have homeroom.
I did.
But like the rest of our day was like split between 4 different classes. Here, there's what, like 8, and they could have like off periods.
No, there's is odds and evens. So 2, 4, 6, 8,
Who
1,
do we
3, 5,
appreciate?
7.
Sorry.
So 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8.
Okay.
And they allow a period off if you're a freshman and if you're a senior. They will automatically give you an off period.
Okay.
Sophomores and juniors, however, they will not have an off period if they are in special ed. They will have homework help classes or social classes, like something that's on their IEP, extra reading help, etc.
Right.
Okay. And if you have failed a class or if you are struggling in a class, they will give you they will give you a study center.
Right.
As a sophomore or junior. But they don't want to overwhelm the freshmen and have them going 8 classes and all this, that, and the other. So they'll have them have 1 period off. And then their sophomore year, if they struggle their freshman year and they need extra help in certain areas, they will get a study center, or they'll get a class to make up the class that they may have failed, or stuff like that. So it's freshmen and seniors typically, and the reason seniors get our periods off is because typically seniors
already have everything done.
Already have all their mandatory classes and their elective requirements done, and they're either waiting for the halfway point to graduate of the year, or they're waiting to the end of the year to graduate. Because here in Colorado, you cannot graduate a full year early. You have to, if you're up to graduate that early here in Colorado, they will make you take college courses, or they'll have you do classes in high school and in college to earn college credits. They'll have you do like a work study program where you can take classes for something you're interested in job-wise. Like our son with his vet tech stuff, he's going to be in medical terminology and zoology next year as part of a program to help him earn college credits. And that's going to be his senior year. He's going to be going into his senior year, and he's going to be taking these special classes to earn college credits.
Right.
And he's going to be going to high school for his senior year.
Yeah.
He has an IEP, and he is ironically sitting in front of me supporting my arm while I'm getting the water dish for the ferret.
Yep.
But, like, seniors, they don't get to graduate early unless they are going, unless they turn 18, they're going into the military.
Well, like our oldest, he could have graduated
at the end of his junior year.
Junior or sophomore year?
Junior year.
Okay.
But they didn't want him to graduate that early because socially he wasn't ready.
Right.
The maturity level wasn't there. And they look at all of that here, especially in the school system we're in Littleton.
What I was saying is, like, there between the 2 semesters, there are 16 total classes for our kids here. When I was growing up and I was going to school, we had 8 classes for the entire year. Now, you could have more, like if you wanted to take your elective period or like your flex period, study hall period, whatever you want to call it, and take another class, you could. You know, if you wanted to double up on some classes, you could. So that way you could go through like AP classes, or, you know, if you
just pinched her foot.
Oh. But like if you wanted to like we had the option to graduate early when I was going to high school. But we had 8 classes.
So did we.
For the entire year, and they were split in half. Like we had 4 the first semester, so the first 2 working periods.
Yeah.
And then we had 4 the second 2 working periods.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Here
so
they
like
have here their core classes, their English, math, science, and social studies. They have for a full year. There are electives that they can take that are a full year, and in that case, they would get a choice of 2 of those because those take up 2 block periods for the full year, and then they could take semester ones, which they could choose up to 4.
right.
And so they do that pretty much the same way. Back when I was in high school,
Because
I graduated in
school.
2000. I
went to high school here.
I went to high school at Lakewood High School.
You went to high school in Colorado.
Exactly. And it's just like when I was in high school, we had just straight scheduling. Like we had to be to school at 7:15 was first bell. And you could, or 7:45 was first bell, but 7:15 the breakfast bell rang, and all students that ate breakfast at school had to be there at 7:15 so that they could get breakfast and have time to eat and whatnot. We had to go through all 8 classes every day for the full year if it was a year-long class, or for the semester if it was only a semester class. And it was really difficult because the reason they switched to block scheduling here in Colorado is because they were finding that students weren't learning very much or retaining very much with those 45-minute classes.
Yeah.
And that was becoming a problem. So they decided, okay, we're going to make it an hour and a half, split the days up, and have alternating days, which worked out really well. But the problem with it is now you've got these kids that are getting bored. And then when they get bored, they do stupid shit, become disruptive, or they fall asleep because they're bored. They have nothing to do. And then they just don't go to school because they have literally nothing to do.
Yeah.
You get those kids that ditch because they could ditch all day long and half the night, still walk in on a test day, take it, and pass with 100%.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Well, and
they need to keep things more engaging.
I think in that instance, what they need to do is if they notice that these kids are being bored and they're scoring high on tests and whatnot, they need to automatically bump them up a level. Like with our daughter.
And that's the thing. She was bored in a regular class, but their advanced class for math is in the same classroom. They just give you harder assignments. The problem with that being, the teacher is more focused on teaching the stuff that...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They need to bump them up and have them in a separate class.
And I don't think she would be having the problems she is with that class
if it was a separate
class.
Right.
Instead, she's getting bored because she's getting irritated because she's learning all this stuff that she already knows, but she's being given a totally different assignment with no explanation.
Yep.
And that's the issue. And then it comes to finals week, and it's just like, well, what the hell do you want me to do?
Well, so for my finals week,
she's in honors algebra.
Growing up, like going to school when I did, up until like I hit like 7th, 8th grade, I was a straight A student. I did everything I was supposed to.
Me too.
And then I hit middle school and I stopped studying for tests.
I hit 8th grade.
And I stopped doing homework. Like I would specifically like stuff shit in my backpack.
And forget about it?
On purpose.
It
got to a point where my parents had to sign my assignment book every night, and I had to write down what was in my assignment book, and if I didn't, it got to a point where I just stopped writing stuff down on it. I had to hand my teachers my assignment book when I walked into class, and they wrote it down, signed it, and then when I did my homework at home, my parents had to sign it.
Yeah.
And it went from there. But like I was one of those kids where I didn't I didn't study. I rarely studied. I barely did homework, but I was still, when I took the test, I was getting like B's and C's. Like I was passing easily.
Yeah.
But what I will say is when it came down for finals, I actually did study. There were 2 instances when I was in high school that for 2 separate marking periods, I actually did my best. And both of those marking periods, I went ahead and I got A's and maybe like 1B. I was on like honor roll. It was actually, so back home, getting mostly A's and B's was distinguished honor roll, which is like, I guess, Dean's List.
Yeah,
out here.
Dean's List out here.
And those 2 instances were 10th grade, the last marking period of 10th grade. I did it because my parents were like, look, if you get good grades, when you turn 16, we'll take you to go get your permit. And then I was like, okay, dope. So I did my best, got onto the Distinguished Honor Roll, and got my permit. And then it expired.
Yeah.
And then the second time I did it was the final marking period of my senior year. And my parents looked at me when I got my report card when I graduated. And they're like, why didn't you do this the entire time? And I was like, I was bored. It's like, I passed. I didn't have a great GPA, but I still passed throughout everything. And like and like the thing that really got my teachers was like midterms would roll around, wouldn't study for them. And they were covering like 4, 5, 6 different chapters on stuff that we did.
And you would still score significantly higher than most of the students in the class. Yep, same with me.
And it pissed my sister off because my sister had to fight tooth and nail and study every day in order to get the grades that she did. And I was just sitting there like, I don't care. And still getting good grades. And so I remember studying.
A lot of times they put a lot of pressure on the
They really do.
too.
Like, and that's the thing. Like, one of the reasons why I just refused to do anything really in high school was because of all the pressure that they put on you. Like, I remember several times the teachers, like, my class was being a little disruptive. I'm sitting there reading a book because that's what I did. I didn't disrupt anybody, but I was reading a book that wasn't a part of the curriculum.
Not part of that class.
Yeah. And the teacher would like get frustrated and be like, look, and launch into this speech about how important, school was and going to college and all that. And some of the kids really took that to heart. Those were the ones who are like, okay, yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm studying. I'm turning in every homework piece. I'm doing my best to get the best score on any sort of group projects and yada yada. But like the rest of the class are like, okay. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I think, and I'm going to be honest here, is it important for people to get a secondary education? Yes, it's always good to know something, right?
Yes.
Does everyone have to do it? No. Because if everyone did it, we would have nobody working at grocery stores. We would have really nobody working on construction. Any sort of manual labor, nobody would be doing it except for illegal immigrants.
And that's the thing, is like, people think that in order to, you can't even flip burgers at McDonald's without a college degree.
No, you can.
You can. But the thing is they're making such an emphasis on college degrees and going to college and all this, that, and the other. What about the people that can't afford it? What about the people that can't get scholarships? What about the people
who have learning disabilities or like dyslexia or such ADHD or ADD that they can't fucking focus on one thing to save their fucking life?
And that's the thing. They put such an emphasis on
people with speech impediments.
They put such an emphasis on getting a college education is important and you have to go to college, this, that, and the other. No, you don't. You can be just as successful and sometimes make more money than people that are college educated.
I mean, look at teachers. Look at Zuckerberg. He went ahead. He was going to college. I don't know if he actually finished it, but he was going to college and he made Facebook. I mean, there are stories out there of people who aren't they don't have a college degree, or they started up these companies while they were going to college and then decided, nah, and they're bringing
Look at Markiplier.
Markiplier, Blarg, Smitty. Although some of these people I don't know. Like, I know Blarg was going to college. I know that Markiplier was going to college. Don't remember if they actually. I know Mark didn't finish.
No, he was going to school for engineering, and he just was like, "This isn't what I want to do."
Yeah.
And the thing is you have to decide what's right for you. You can't sit there and let people tell you, "Oh, you have to go to college."
Now, what we're not saying, what we're saying or not saying is, go ahead and become a YouTuber and you'll be rich and famous immediately. No, like these people that we've mentioned took years
to be as successful as they are,
to get to where they are. I mean,
it's not instant gratification.
No.
You have to work hard. You have to bust your ass.
And you have to be willing to do all this and enjoy what you're doing.
And do the jobs that people are so against, like being in the service industry, working at grocery stores, being a cashier, working in retail. You have to be willing to bust your ass at those jobs.
Take a look at Big Puffer, right?
Yeah.
From YouTube and from Twitch.
Yeah.
When he first started, he was delivering Domino's pizzas. He was working for Domino's when he first started doing YouTube. And I believe he was actually going to college, too, for film.
And these guys, his buddies, still give him a shit about delivering Domino's.
Well, it's not even his buddies. His chat does. But then he went ahead and, stopped going to college and started doing editing for one of his friends. And then from there, he got into streaming and got into making videos of his own. And now he's sitting at 700 and something thousand people on YouTube. Like, he's coming up on a million people.
Pretty quickly.
Blarg just hit 1 million toward the beginning of this year. And he is actual real life best friends with Smitty.
Yeah.
Not once when Blarg was coming up did he attempt to use Smitty as clout.
Exactly.
He went ahead and he made it his own.
He didn't ride everybody's coattails.
No, he worked his ass off.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that everyone's going to be successful? No, there are millions of people who have tried and have failed in that instance.
I mean, look at me. I have a college degree. I have a college education. I stepped away during the pandemic because, we have 2 kids with asthma. And now, and because of the pandemic, my license expired and stuff like that. And it's become such a difficult thing to work in as a respiratory therapist because COVID is still a thing.
Yeah.
And people are still in COVID ICUs and dying from this. And it's like, I got to a point where, I could go retake the test. I could get my license back. But I'll be making just as much as I am working security at a hospital.
Yep.
That doesn't make sense.
Nope.
If you're going to get a college education for it, biggest example of this, teachers,
yep.
They do not get paid enough. 90% of the teachers I know, actually, I'd venture to say closer to 100% of the teachers that I've come across, the entire time our kids have been going to school, have purchased school supplies for their students that couldn't afford it.
Yep.
They're barely scraping by. They're in foreclosure in their house. They're losing their home. They're renting an apartment that's $2,000 a month because they have no other choice.
Yep.
But they're still doing things for these students. And they have a college degree that are still paying off their student loans.
I'm just now realizing how far we've strayed from the original topic.
But I mean, it goes to show that, we're putting a lot of pressure on these kids, and part of that is finals. Finals are archaic.
Yeah.
I personally think that they should be having smaller tests more often, and not put such a huge emphasis on finals.
Well, the thing about with finals and with tests and quizzes in general is it's not testing the knowledge that they have. It's testing the retention that they have. And
They'll retain more if you're testing them, giving smaller tests more often.
I can't, like, there are things that I will latch onto and hold on to. Like, a lot of stuff that I remember from, like, high school, which is not a whole lot, was because of how it was taught and how we went into it. But a lot
things are more hands-on. Were more hands-on when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Like, in biology, you actually dissected a frog. It was a mandatory thing.
Yep.
If it was a religious exemption, they found some other project that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that type of thing. But now, it's like they give anybody an exemption form and say, if you don't want your student completing this, please fill out this form. I'm going to tell you one thing. I can tell you on one hand how many of those forms our children have brought home. Because either A, they know that I'm going to make them do it anyway, regardless of how they feel. Because it's something that they're learning. They shouldn't, with one exception.
And that is the theory of evolution.
And we've gone into this in a previous episode.
Have we?
Yep. Okay. We went because of your whole evolution versus creationism in school and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But they're putting such an emphasis on these finals, and it's stressing these kids out. And they wonder why some of these kids have anxiety issues.
Yeah.
Or depression. Because, like, when I was growing up, I remember during finals that if you got a poor grade on your final, like if you got a D or you outright failed your final,
you failed the class.
You failed the class.
Oh yeah, that happened a lot with us too, and they would say, like,
and back it was when so much pressure.
Back when I was going to high school, like I got to a point where there was a couple, like, our class wasn't doing too great. Granted, our teacher wasn't
not that great.
Good. But they came in one day and they were all irritable, and you know, she slammed her stuff down on her little table, and she's like, "Look, finals is coming up." We're like, "Yeah, we know." She's like, "Cool. If you don't get a good grade, if you guys don't hit a C average, all of you are going to have to repeat this class, and for some of you, this is a mandatory class that you need to graduate. So if you guys don't get a C average, a lot of you people aren't going to be able to graduate on time." And she just dropped out on everybody. Instead of being like, going up to each individual person, being like, "Look, here's how to set up a game plan, so that way you can study better, so that way you can do better on these finals."
Better study guides.
And then you had, like, the entire class turning on these people, and I was one of them.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing great, but that's, once again, because I didn't care. And they looked at me. They're like, "You actually going to do your shit?" I looked them square in the face. I'm like, "No." "Oh, well, you have to. We all..." "No. Your grade is dependent on you, not me. Don't worry about how I do. Worry about yourself."
And that's the thing.
And I turned around and I sat, I went back to doing what I was doing. And the teacher looked at me and she goes, "What was that, Mr. Boyer?" I'm like, "The whole thing that you just did is bullshit."
It's unnecessary.
And I said that out loud, straight to her face, and she looked at me. "Excuse me?" "No, it's bullshit, because you're sitting there putting all this stress on everybody to, I guess, intimidate people into doing so well in your class." My grade doesn't affect her grade. It doesn't affect his grade. You know what my grade affects? Only two people. Me, because it's my grade, and you. And she, like, took a step back because I said it so venomously toward her. And she was like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" I'm like, our grades are a reflection of your poor teaching. So if you want us to do better, maybe teach better, and we won't end up, we won't have like a third of this class failing, because you are not addressing the issues that we are actually asking. You are not answering questions that we're asking you.
Or flat out ignoring the questions.
And instead, you're sitting there downgrading us and talking down to us, because how can you guys not have picked us up yet? We've covered it this last 4 fucking weeks, and going into all this. You need to start teaching better so that way we can start doing better,
And
then
I've
it'll
always
look
been-
better on you.
I've always been a very hands-on learner. I learn by seeing and then doing.
Yeah.
And if they would teach individually instead of teaching to a whole, then we wouldn't have these students struggling so much.
Yeah.
And
like
the
what ended
pressure.
up happening is like I got sent down to the principal's office because I cussed at her.
Yeah.
Didn't get in trouble because of my connections and my personal stuff that I was good at.
Yeah.
And I at that point I had enough, so I went ahead and I let the principal and the administrative staff know, like, hey, this is what she just said. This is what she just did. And they pulled people one at a time, not out of her class, keep in mind, but like throughout the day, like, hey, I need this person, this person, this person, come down to principal's office.
Yeah, they wouldn't pull them out of her class because she'd know something was up.
Yeah. And the next year, she was no longer teaching at our school.
And that's the thing, is like a lot of the thing is it's not. I'm gonna say something that's gonna sound a little on the side of you, like playing devil's advocate. A lot of these teachers want to be able to teach a certain way,
Right.
teach the way their students learn,
Right.
and do different fun activities that involve their subject and all this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But there's a very strict curriculum and assignment list and book list and whatever experiment list
Yeah.
that they have to follow. And if they don't follow it, then they can't be teaching. And
Right.
that's the thing, that it's ridiculous.
Like, if it was that all the time, like, if it was just that, like, they have to do things a certain way, then yes, I would 100% agree with you. However, not every class has those same requirements. Like, there are
the
some
state of
English
Colorado has
classes-
a very mandatory, very strict.
Right, but there are still ways to go around it so that way everybody can learn in a different way.
Oh, now they have surprise monitoring classes where
Okay.
they'll send a surprise district monitor, and
Okay.
if you're not following your the lesson plan that the district has laid out for you, you will get terminated.
Okay, there are ways to follow that lesson plan, and this is what I'm saying. And maybe there's a breakdown somewhere in here. But there are ways to follow that lesson plan, but make it your own.
No.
Yeah.
They have you turn in, and this is something that I've had a discussion with some of the special education teachers and some of the other teachers at the high school that our kids go to, is they have a district-wide thing that they have to follow,
Mhm.
a template of sorts.
Mhm.
They have to physically turn in their daily lesson plans on Friday afternoons for the next week.
Okay. You're not understanding what I'm saying then.
I'm
There are
talking.
ways, because a lesson plan is just that. We're going to cover this topic. Here's what I'm going to say. Here's what we're going to go over
And I understand
to
that.
do that. But there are ways to follow that lesson plan, but make it fun.
And that's the thing, and this is something that I've discussed with the teachers, and I agree with you that that's the way it should be. But some of these teachers that I've talked to over the years are like, we tried doing, like, there was a beach ball math game. There was a couple of different things in math and science that they were doing, and they were trying to make things a little more fun, like making elephant toothpaste and stuff like that, on a small scale.
Right.
And they would have these, they call them corporate spies that would come in and monitor these classrooms every single week.
Okay.
You didn't know what day or what class period or whatever that
Okay.
they were coming in. And they would videotape or record the teacher teaching, and then if the district found any issue with it, they would be put on leave pending termination. Like, it's gotten that ridiculous. They
Cool.
cannot stray.
Go ahead and like, if I was a teacher and that happened with me, cool. Go ahead and record me. I don't care. This is the way that my kids are going to learn. And if you put me on leave to terminate me, awesome. While I'm on leave, I'm filing a lawsuit to put an injunction on that firing, And I'm going to demand that you go ahead and after I get done with my lesson, the way that I teach it, go ahead and compare the test scores for my students to somebody who's followed your carbon copy monkey print to a T, see who scores better.
Exactly. And it's like they've got these teachers walking on eggshells and afraid to do what's right for their students because they want things done a certain way and all that. And it's just like it's ridiculous to me. And it's ridiculous to a lot of teachers. And it's like, I don't know.
And they put all this emphasis on
the
final test of the marking period or the semester or whatever, and it's bullshit.
Exactly. It's too much stress on not only the students, but the teachers as well.
Yep.
Because then they're going to be like, oh, shoot, we forgot to go back and review this, and this. And then they try to rush through it, and then they don't have
know how one
time.
of my teachers got around that? They made the final open notebook.
Hey, if you're going to do finals, that's the way to do it.
Another
open
teacher,
book testing.
Another teacher went ahead and made a study guide for the final.
Except for it was the final with all the answers.
Oh yeah. That was fantastic.
And there's teachers that are like that are like, I'm just going to give you the answers.
Nope.
And we had one class, and this is a teacher, Mr. Wright. He was my world history teacher. He was also my American history teacher, but because of the controversy and my thoughts on American history and not teaching the bad and the good, I slept through American history and failed it.
Yeah.
But during world history, Mr. Wright...
Kind of like what I did with Biopop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Mr. Wright.
Fuck you, Mr. Ireland.
His name was Bill Wright. Literally, we called him Bill of Rights because he was the history teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Makes sense.
And so Mr. Wright did this thing where we had his finals for world history and world religions and American history were real simple. He came in and said, okay, it's time for finals. He'd ask the first question. He goes, what you going to do? You're going to number 1 through 100. We're going to discuss each question, and we're going to come up with a group answer. If your answer is wrong, I will probably just spend half my time going, clearing my throat. You know, he'd make it fun. And he took finals as an opportunity for his students to kind of relax.
Yeah.
He made it a potluck. You could bring in soda. You could bring in candy. We had a giant potluck. And he would go through, okay, everybody got a plate? Everybody got their answer key numbered 1 through 100? Okay, first question. What year did this go on? 1492. No, that was when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And we'd go back and forth. Okay, so the answer is A. You guys were not correct on that. It was 18-something. You know, whatever
Insert
the question
whatever.
Exactly. And he'd go into an explanation. Finals for us was 2 weeks because we did kind of a block scheduling during finals only.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had like 2-hour class periods. So we would sit there and he would go through the explanation of each of these questions and we're like, oh, okay. And then still, like the end of the next year, we'd be walking around the hall and he'd be like, hey, when was this? And he'd pop off the answer because you learned because it was fun.
Yep.
And now it's just like
stress.
Yep. Like, and if you fail a final, you don't fail the class, which is awesome now. But you've got such a emphasis and such a big chunk of it, of your grade, depending on the final, that you're like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Yep.
You're not sleeping the night before because you're pulling an all-nighter, and then you...
Well, you guys were. I wasn't. I was sleeping like a baby.
like, I'm talking about kids now.
Oh, yeah.
And they're studying, and they're worrying, and that's why, like, I will fight tooth and nail. If our kids don't do so well on a final, I'm going to be like, okay, what happened? We'll go through things and be like, okay, why didn't you learn this? Why did you get this wrong? You know, going through it so that they are a little more relaxed about it. But then they go to school the next day and they're like doing these huge study weeks and some teachers are having them help clean their classroom instead of providing study guides for the final.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And it's just like, no.
So, to those who might
Or
be
using
taking
time-
finals,
Or using that time to make up assignments that students may have missed. That would make more sense.
so to those people who might be listening who are going through finals right now, whether you are in high school, if you're in high school, I don't know if you should be listening to this, because age-wise,
Yeah.
we don't care either way. But if you're in like college or whatnot, and either way, if you're going through finals in whatever setting you are, relax. You're gonna get through it. Everything's gonna be fine.
And remember, the human body needs water and food
And sleep.
and sleep. And if you're going to drink an energy drink, don't drink more than 1 or 2, 3 max in a 24-hour period.
Follow the instructions that are on the can.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're actually we're gonna I can't words.
Transition.
Yay. Yeah, that's the word. We're gonna transition from that to something that is a little more lighthearted.
Oh, God.
And funny.
Run away.
Nah. What is your most embarrassing story from when you were younger? I don't care how old you were. What is your most embarrassing story from when you were younger?
So, keep in mind we do not condone underage drinking or underage drug use.
Nope.
Please do not do it. If you are not of age to do it, please, if you are under 21, do not drink. Do not smoke weed.
We can't stop you, but don't do it.
On the other hand, when I was 16,
Mm-hmm.
the first time I ever got completely shit-faced drunk was also the first time I ever smoked marijuana. Unfortunately, said marijuana had drops of liquid acid and liquid ecstasy.
Mm-hmm.
I was drunk, high off my ass, at a party, and I was dancing naked on a table with a lampshade on my head, singing Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. Yeah. And I don't remember any of it. I didn't remember any of it for years. And then I saw the one and only videotape that I have subsequently destroyed. And I was like, okay. Apparently, drugs and alcohol do not mix.
Yeah.
Now I can drink half a bottle of wine and smoke a joint and not even care.
So mine isn't even from when I was like young. I actually have two that I feel tie in embarrassment factor.
I like to ride my bicycle.
So both of mine happened after I turned 21. The first one was
You drink legally?
Oh no, like so when I was in high school, the first and only time I've ever had a hangover, I really didn't do anything embarrassing for me. I embarrassed the shit out of somebody else because I was drunk and I was going through a hangover. I was drunk and I was drunk for 3 days straight because of the pure alcohol level that was in my system.
He had more alcohol in his bloodstream than blood.
I went into class one day and sat down at this desk, and this girl sat down next to me, and I didn't think anything of it because, well, I really didn't care, and two, I was drunk, so I really didn't care. Her boyfriend came over and was like, "Hey, you need to move," and I was laying down because it was before class started, and so I had my head down on my desk. And I looked up and I'm like, what? You need to move. I sit next to my girl. And this girl's like looking at me like, giving me those eyes like, hey, I'm sorry. And I'm just like, or you can just sit behind her. You're still sitting by her. I'm not moving. And he was like, no, you're going to move. I am the only one who's allowed to sit next to my girl.
No.
And I'm like, Okay, what part of I'm not moving is lost in translation to you? The I'm not or moving part. Do you need me to say it in another language? Because I can't. So no. And I laid my head back down. And I guess when I went to go lay my head back down, he swung. Because how dare I talk back to him? He's a popular guy, and I'm just a nobody. Because I kept to myself. I was a ghost. But he swung right as I laid my head back down, and I felt like the wind brush over the back of my head, and I sat back up, and I'm like, no, we're not doing this, and I sack tapped him. And then while he was like bending over to clutch his jewels, I had reached down, grabbed my book bag, and I swung it up and smacked him in the face and knocked him backwards onto his ass. Busted up his nose, so I was bleeding a little bit. And then I very calmly put my backpack back down, laid my head back down, right as the teacher came walking in. So it wasn't really embarrassing for me. I embarrassed the shit out of him. The first embarrassing story for me. I'm former military, and I was down in Anacostia with a friend of mine, because one of our shipmates was leaving our command, and they had done their 2 years in our command, and they were moving to a new one. And so we went out to celebrate, her and her accomplishments and the fact that she was leaving.
To tie one on.
Yeah. He wasn't old enough to drink. So because it was a command party, he obviously didn't drink anything while we were out.
Pre-gaming, however.
Oh, yeah. I, on the other hand, got pretty drunk. And
Pretty drunk.
Oh, yeah. Pretty drunk. I wasn't blackout drunk because I can remember this.
He was wasted.
So I had called you, and this was before you and I had even gotten together. We were just talking. We were friends because I was dating our old friend, our ex-friend at the time. Couldn't get a hold of her, so I called you. Don't know why. And I was talking to you while we were walking down the street, walking to my vehicle that he doesn't need a driver for.
Yeah.
So that way we could get back to base.
Yep.
And I saw a bicycle, and I'm like, I got this sudden, overwhelming urge. I want to ride said bicycle.
And he hands the phone.
I hand the phone off to my buddy, and
It was Nick, right?
Yep. And I proceed to go ahead and get on the seat of the bicycle and try to ride it around.
All I hear is laughter and Nick saying, "You cannot ride the bicycle. It has no wheels."
And it was chained to
a bicycle rack.
Yeah. And I fell over and was still trying to pedal down the street.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing story number 1.
It was hysterical because all you hear is, "It has wheels. It's just chained to the bike." Well, you can't ride the bicycle if the wheels aren't on the bicycle, dumbass.
Embarrassing story number 2. And you kind of heard part of it the other day when I was talking with my parents.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, we used to go camping like every weekend during the summer.
Knobles.
No. So my dad's cousin, Ez, had a lot on the side, like a campground.
You're talking Ezra, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Had a campground on the side of the Susquehanna River up in Williamsport. Because I'm from Pennsylvania. And so, like, during the summer, every weekend, we would go ahead and we would go camping. And we'd be there on the weekends, and, it would be great. Well, once I turned 21, I could finally drink with the adults, and I could be part of
the grown-ups.
Yeah, I could be a part of the adult conversations and whatnot. Well, 1 year after I turned, or like 2 years, somewhere around there, after I turned 21,
it was one of the last camping trips we went on with them.
Yes. We're sitting there by the fire. It's at night, and we're tossing a couple back. And our neighbor lot goes ahead and's like, "Hey, y'all want to come over and party with us?" And I was like, yeah, I'm down for it. One of the other younger guys that I had made friends with, who was like friends with Ez's son, was like, yeah, let's go do this. And of course, my parents were like, nah, that's not really our thing, but y'all go have fun. You're like 20 feet away from us. Whatever. So we went over there. We were drinking some more, and they had one of those huge like wheels, like the big wire wheels.
Yes, like the wagon wheels.
Not really the wagon wheels, but like the spools.
Yeah.
That you like for the big wires for like electrical cabling and whatnot.
Yeah.
They had one of those set up in the middle of their thing, and they had a flimsy ass pole.
Oh, the stripper pole incident.
Yes, sticking out of it. And we're sitting there watching, and they're playing music, and people are going up, and they're not actually stripping, but they're pole dancing on this pole, and they're fucking drunk. And I'm not a small guy. Even back then, I wasn't small. I wasn't as big as I am now, but I was bigger than, most.
Average.
And so I see these girls, they get up there, and they're dancing on it, and they're bigger girls. Like, they're, like, me and a little more back then. And they're, dancing on this pole, and I'm like, okay, that I was drunk and was like, that
drunk ideas are the best.
That looks like a lot of fun. So I get up there and I'm doing my thing, and everybody's cheering, and I go to do this spin, and I guess where the pole was sitting at was not as strong because, once again, flimsy ass fucking pole.
And you're a bigger guy.
And it started leaning and then cracked in half and tipped up and fell over. And I was a part of the top part that fell over. And everyone got real quiet. I hit the spool, rolled, landed, stood up, and everybody's like real quiet. And the person whose lot it was and whose pole it was had wandered off, I guess, to go to the bathroom or whatnot. So everybody's like, oh man, what's going to happen now? They turn back to say something to me, and me and the guy who I went with are just gone. Like, gone. We took off. Because we're drunk. I'm not paying for fucking shit. And so we're gone. And granted, we were the next lot over, but it was a pretty big lot. So, like, there were places that I could, dip into.
Duck down.
And only, like, one person had actually had come over and talked to us. And it wasn't even the person whose lot it was. It was, like, one of their friends or something like that. So, like, just two random guys showed up. Don't know where they came from. And one of the guys broke the pole. Yada, yada. They're not going to be able to notice. Looking back on it sober, it's like they wouldn't have known it was me. Like, I still am a ghost. Like, I can disappear into a crowd and, like, it's not even a problem. Drunk me did not remember that. So, of course, I'm hiding. And my buddy is hiding because he's in the same thought process that I am. I'm not paying for fucking shit, and I'm not getting into a fight, so we're just gone. And my parents come over, and they're like, what happened? One of the people came over, and I guess they're looking for you because something broke. I'm like, I don't know. And so they're like, what happened? And my buddy finally broke down and told my parents what happened. They found it hysterical. But, like, the next day, we're sitting there, and I'm passed out because I'm still, sleeping off the alcohol. And I feel this tap on my shoulder, and I crack an eye open, and it's the guy who came over the night prior. He's like, did you actually come over yesterday? And I, who, even when I drink, can remember a lot, realized that he could not remember anything. So I said,
No,
I just stayed here and was drinking with my parents and my buddy. So, no, we didn't go over there. And he looks over at my parents. My parents are doing their own thing. And my parents are older. And so for him to go ahead and talk to them was weird. So he didn't. So he looked over at the other guy. And he's like, is what he's saying right? And the other guy's like, yeah, we didn't show back up. We didn't show up. And the guy's like, wow, something happened and the pole broke, and they're saying that you guys did it. I'm like, no, we weren't. We heard people laughing and then silence. That's really about it. And he's like, oh, all right, cool. Well, we're having another party if you want to come over tonight. I'm like, I'm probably going to skip that one. And so, yeah. I make really dumb decisions when I'm drunk, apparently.
And I mean, I have one more of when I was of legal drinking age.
Okay.
My college graduation party, just before you moved out, because I technically graduated in November, but the ceremony was in May.
Right.
So I had my graduation party. And I had invited a bunch of people. I had actually invited my old ROTC instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already been drinking since like 10 a.m. because all my a couple of my high school friends showed up. We were drinking and stuff like that. And my ROTC instructor shows up. And I'm like, instinctively hide the alcohol behind my back because it's like
it's
my
your
mind
old
switched.
It's your old JROTC instructor. So,
Exactly. Yeah. But he's like, hey, what you drinking? And I'm like, Kool-Aid? And that's where we got the adult Kool-Aid comment from.
Yeah.
And he goes, what flavor Mike's Hard Lemonade are you drinking? And I'm like, shit. And so that was the start of my day. And then later on that night, my friend Jen, she told my ex, the kid's dad, hey, I'm stealing your wife for going to the Electric Cowboy, and she's not going to show up sober. Good luck. So we first stop at Texas Roadhouse.
Right.
And I had a Jamaican Big Boy margarita. It was one of the big fishbowl margaritas. I was like, yeah, this is tasty. Then we go up to the Electric Cowboy, which is a country club.
Country nightclub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And shot girls, cowgirls, cowboys, the whole nine.
Right.
Okay. And it was 75-cent drinks. And I was double fisting cranberry vodkas from about 8 o'clock at night until about 1 a.m.
Right.
And then I dropped my phone, and Jen put it in her pocket because, well, I couldn't keep a hold of my damn phone because I was fucking plastered. And the bartender's like, are you guys done? And we're like, yeah, we're done. We're getting ready to leave. He goes, well, I want you to drink some water. And I was like, don't give me tap water. I will throw up.
Yeah,
and
you don't do well with tap water.
No.
Even now.
Like, my system does not react well to tap water. If I drink water, it's going to be bottled water, and that's the only thing.
Or purified water.
Yeah, it's the only thing I can actually keep down.
Like Brita and stuff like that, because we had a Brita pitcher, and then when one of the houses we lived in, we had the Brita. Yeah, we had the Brita filter on the
actual faucet.
The faucet, and you could drink that all day.
Yeah, and so it's because it filters out a lot of the
stuff,
like chlorination and
the stuff.
All the different minerals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, don't give me tap water, I will throw up. What did they do? They gave me tap water, took 2 sips, and proceeded to vomit cranberry vodka all over the bar top. I had some really fucking hot shot girls help me out to the car, and then when I got home, the embarrassing part of my night continued when I tried to go up the stairs to go pee and sleep in the bathroom. Yeah, that didn't work out so well. I tried to go up the stairs, face planted on the stairs, got told go change in the bathroom. That bathroom was smaller. I mean, you saw it. It was the hooker house, whatever. And I changed, got a shower, went to the bathroom, laid down on the floor and passed out. And nobody could get into the bathroom because I was passed out with my head up against the tub and my feet up against the door.
Yep.
It took one of the children that were in the house to squeeze in and lift my legs in order for somebody to get in there so that they could go to the bathroom and get me the hell out. I woke up the next morning, still no hangover.
So
I've never had a hangover ever.
That actually brings up something that just hit me. How do you do you feel secondhand embarrassment? Like, I can't watch like sitcoms or like even old ones.
You can't watch other people getting embarrassed.
I hate it. Like, I get embarrassed and I get anxious and I have to leave the room.
Me too. Like, I will watch things on TV because those are made up. But like in real life situations, I can't watch other people be embarrassed.
See, I'm the other way around. I can't watch the TV stuff, but if I see somebody get embarrassed, I'm just like, oh, that sucks. And
you're like,
I don't understand it.
And see, I'm the opposite of that. Like, I can watch the TV shows, but in real life situations, I'm just like, oh, I'm not watching this.
Like if it, if it's embarrassing, like real embarrassing to somebody who I actually care about, I can't. I'll sit there and I'll pull them away because I don't want them to suffer further embarrassment. But if it's something small, like they trip, it's like, oh, yo, you good? And
have a nice
they're
trip.
Embarrassed and
see you
all
next
that
fall.
Kind of stuff. But I'll make a joke out of it to like lighten that up.
Have a nice trip. See you next fall.
Yeah, but like I remember watching like Friends and Boy Meets World and like Family Matters and that kind of stuff. And there was embarrassing things that happened in those shows. I could not sit there. I had to walk out of the room until it was done and over with.
Yeah.
We were watching something the other day that the character, like the main character or one of the main characters or whoever the fuck it was getting real embarrassed on something. And you saw me start like getting antsy until I walked out of the room and called out as I was walking out, let me know when this is over.
Yeah.
Like I can't do secondhand embarrassment. Like if I get embarrassed, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to make a joke out of it. But I can't do secondhand embarrassment on like TV shows at all. Like I don't understand it. It's not that it bothers me. I get anxious. Like, and I've never been an anxious person in my life. Like something happens, it's like, okay, yeah, that happened.
Yeah, shit happens.
If I can't control it, I'm not going to worry about it. But like when it comes to TV shows and people getting anxious in TV shows, I can't do it, and I don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
Do you suffer from secondhand embarrassment?
Yeah.
Like if somebody that like does something and people are like, no, you dumbass, that's not, or like something happens or whatever.
I do not know you. Like I suffer from secondhand embarrassment like bad. Like I was with a group of friends and it was senior prom. Granted, I didn't make it into prom because I was already pre-gaming. But that's another underage drinking story we don't go into. But like we were all out at the restaurant because we weren't allowed into prom. And my friend stepped on the floofy part of her dress and tore the bottom part of it off. And basically it looked like she was in a corset and panties. And I just like got up and walked away. I was like, I don't know you. Like I had to walk away because I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. But that wasn't somebody that I was particularly close to. We were friends, but it was more like it was gearing more towards like, acquaintances rather than friends. She was part of the friend group, but I wasn't personally hanging out with her all the time.
Gotcha.
But there are other times where another friend of mine, we had it was homecoming senior year, which I did go to, and she had this beautiful white dress. It was Michelle. And like she had a pretty white dress.
Okay.
And she started.
Oh.
And she was
no longer had a beautiful white dress.
She was not due for another like week and a half. She was going through a lot of medical issues and it threw everything off. But that was the reason behind it. But people were sitting there making fun of her and she was getting embarrassed. And I took my coat off because I had a pretty like darker blue coat on.
Right.
And it was made of the same material as part of her dress. So I was like, okay, and we had blue, the guys we were with had blue boutonnieres and we had corsages, the whole 9 yards. And I gave her my jacket to put around her waist, and I went and got her a pad. And we had stuff in our gym lockers, and I always carried extra clothes, like a brand new package of underwear, because
you never know.
Creepy dudes be creepy and stealing your dirty panties. So, and we were pretty much the same size at that point. And so I gave her a brand new pair of underwear, gave her a pad, gave her my jacket, And we finished out the night. And then that next Monday, people were still talking about it. And I got suspended for 5 days because some chick decided that she was going to put red food coloring or some red gel on pads and smear it all over my friend's locker and stick pads to her locker and all this, that, and the other, and generally trying to embarrass her further. And I
lost your
took offense to that, and I kicked the unholy shit out of her.
Yeah.
And ironically, we're friends today.
But, yeah, I
but,
mean...
you know, people grow up. People change.
Embarrassing things happen to everybody. It's... If you can't laugh it off and just walk away, people are going to forget about it.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to call it here, because this has actually been one of our longer episodes that we've had in a hot minute. We're at almost an hour 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure to download this episode. It really helps us out a lot. We do have, if you do want to support the show, there's a link in the description, so check that out as well. Keep in mind, we are taking next week off, so the week ending in the 27th.
We will see you in 2 weeks.
Yep, we will see you at the beginning of June, and we're gonna aim for a longer episode with that one.
I think we'll probably try to do it in 2 weeks on a Thursday, because then I still have the next day to recover and stuff like that if I don't get as much sleep.
But I'm also working on getting a website built for this podcast. That way it has a home. So if you do want to, put
right now
post
we're
questions,
homeless.
if you do want to post questions, or because we have been putting up polls, but I don't think anybody's ever seen them. That way, if we do put up a poll, you guys can answer. You guys can write in comments, whatever. So that way we can have more of an interaction with y'all. So keep an eye. I'm going to try to get it done by the next show. Can't make any promises. But
if there's an inherent, important, you need to ask this right now question, you can always look me up on Facebook under Naomi Wildman and just send me a message there.
We have a thing.
I know, but if they can't post on it.
We have a thing. It's actually on this. If you go to Anchor, it's on Anchor.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank y'all for listening. We really do appreciate it. As always,
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
We got pins that say it now.
Don't forget to love everybody and each other. And
Ron DeSantis is a moron. Have a nice day, everybody.
Maybe we'll cover that in 2 weeks.
Bye.
But we'll see you later. Bye.